Welcome to the Akashic Library.
You know, the word brutal, it might sound a little over the top for something that from the outside looks like romantic restaurants and polite chatter. But if you're actually in the trenches of modern dating, you know that word can sometimes feel like a massive understatement. And this just captures that divide perfectly, doesn't it? To people in long-term relationships, the whole thing can seem kind of baffling. But for anyone who knows it from the inside, the reality is so often this gauntlet of fury, total despondency, and what can really only be called a polite hell. So why? Why is this whole experience so uniquely and emotionally draining? Let's really get into the reasons it feels so incredibly challenging right now. Okay, first up, we have to talk about the hidden stakes. Because here's the thing about a date. It is never ever just about one evening out. There is something so much deeper going on right under the surface. This isn't just about trying to find someone interesting to talk to, or even just about a physical connection. The search, it's for something way more fundamental to who we are and what we need.
So what is it we are really looking for when we agree to meet a complete stranger for a drink? What's actually on the line?
And, well, there it is. This quote just cuts right to the bone, doesn't it? Every single date, no matter how casual it might seem, is basically a referendum on one of our deepest, most primal human fears: dying alone. It's this quiet, high-stakes test to see if maybe, just maybe, we can finally find our person. And this is the perfect illustration of how that works. You've got this totally mundane, trivial question on the surface, fries or salad, but underneath it there's this massive, unspoken existential cry. When will I finally find a home? When will I find a place where I belong? Which brings us right to the next piece of this puzzle, that absolutely soul-crushing cycle of hope and disappointment that just seems to define so much of the whole experience. And I bet this cycle feels painfully familiar to a lot of you. It kicks off with that fragile, tentative little rise of hope. But then you get there and you realize the photos were, let's just say, a little bit optimistic. And what comes next is an hour of that polite hell, the forced conversation, all while being haunted by that old ghost of eternal solitude. And then you go home and you do it all over again next week. You see, the real conflict here is this. You have this powerful, urgent, deeply human need for love and connection. And it just crashes head-on into our own incredibly specific, often totally non-negotiable criteria for what we'll accept in a partner. It is a perfect recipe for endless frustration. And what about those rare, miraculous times when you actually do like someone? Oh, that's when a whole special kind of powerlessness kicks in. You start hearing these vague, unarguable reasons. They're just in a different place right now, or they're still finding their feet, or maybe they've just decided to explore polyamory this week. It is a very unique kind of madness, for sure. All of this, it builds to the deepest psychological part of dating, why rejection hurts so, so much. Because trust me, it is never just about this one person not texting you back. Think of it like this. A rejection tonight isn't just a single event. It's like it plugs directly into a lifetime of other wounds. From your family, from school, from your first heartbreak. It just activates every single past hurt, all at the same time. And that is why this quote just feels so raw and so true. Everyone loves to say, oh, don't take it personally. But our unconscious mind, it knows better. A rejection on this level feels like a fundamental judgment on our entire being. It feels about as personal as it could possibly get. But here's the really complicated twist. We don't just get to be the victim in this whole story. We also have to be the assassin. While we're sitting there processing our own hurt, we're also the ones doing the rejecting, politely explaining to someone else why it's not going to work out. It is a brutal, two-sided role to play. So, you take all of this, the insane stakes, the cycles of disappointment, the constant rejection, and it leads to our final point. Just profound, bone-deep exhaustion. I mean, the subtitle here might be a little dark humor, but it really speaks to that feeling of being at the absolute end of your rope.
And it's a weariness that just comes from everywhere. We're tired of the uncertainty, tired of our own impossible pickiness, so tired of the hours just lost to swiping, and just completely over this endless cycle of rejecting and being rejected. And it all leads to this frantic, spiraling monologue inside our own heads, these desperate questions we ask ourselves late at night. What is so awful about me?
Why does something that's supposed to be so natural feel like a completely impossible task? And finally, maybe the simplest, most heartbreaking question of them all, where are they? So, when you get home after another one of those nights, it's so important to remember what actually just happened. You didn't just go out for a bad dinner. You made another brave attempt to find a solution to cosmic loneliness, and it just didn't work out this time. And that is a really heavy thing to carry. And because of that, you don't need another 5-step plan or another article with dating advice. What you really deserve is a massive amount of understanding and compassion for how hard you're trying. And hopefully, a very lucky break coming very, very soon.
Being alone isn't a failure. It's often preparation. Next, we'll explore anxious attachment and how it quietly shapes so many relationships.